What's going on, guys? Dawko back again. We're gonna talk about some unsolved mysteries in FNAF.
That was 10 out of 10. 10 out of
Galt
10.
has done it again, guys. Galt has done it again. Brilliant game, guys. Just absolutely brilliant game.
Oh, that was amazing. Well, MATPAT already did the intro, guys, so I'm not going to do it. Welcome to
No, you simply must. Show me how poorly I did.
No, okay. What's going on, guys? Dawko back again. Hope you're fantastic today. And welcome to episode 2 of FNAF Unsolved. Ooh. As you've already seen, our special guest today is the wonderful MATPAT. Thank you so much for coming on. It's so exciting.
I'm excited to be. Anytime I get a chance to hang out with you, Dawko, is always a win.
Oh, we've got a very, very mysterious subject today.
Is it Five Nights at Freddy's?
It is Five Nights at Freddy's, yeah. But the specific subject in Five Nights at Freddy's is Midnight Motorist.
Can I just call out the fact, Dawko, that you've named this FNAF Unsolved Mysteries, but that's just literally all of FNAF.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't narrow down the topic at all.
That's why it's fun, because we can just keep making hundreds of episodes. So yeah, it's free content.
Free real estate. Yeah, it just goes and goes and goes. I understand. I get it. Yes, I'm right there with you.
Yeah, so Midnight Motorist, man.
Yep.
Came out with FNAF 6 back December 2017.
Oh, wow. That's a long time ago.
I know, right?
We've been doing this a long time.
7 years later, it's pretty much still a big mystery. One of the biggest debates in the FNAF community still 7 years later on who the mysterious mustard man is in the minigame. And, you know, it's quite a big minigame, isn't it? You know, it's got so many questions inside it. It's not just like, what's in the box? It's what's Junior's? What's a dirt pile? Who's Mustard Man? What's the house? Where did the kid go? Did he get kidnapped or did he leave intentionally? There's so much. So yeah.
Well, and the worst part of it too is I think like people were really excited with the FNAF 10th anniversary stuff where they're like, oh my gosh, 5 laps at Freddy's. This is going to be awesome. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh, no way. There's a screenshot of the level turning into Midnight Motorist level. And so people were even more hyped because it's like, oh, this is the thing that's finally going to give us information about the most mysterious minigame that the franchise has seen yet. And then all of a sudden 5 laps comes out and it's like, oh, no lore here. Cool, guys. Appreciate that one.
There's one specific thing that I want to bring up about that later on at the end. Have you seen the Midnight Motor, the actual car? And it's got like a little Spring Bonnie antenna at the back. That's weird, isn't it? That's very strange.
Hold up, is that the thing that you were going to bring up at the very end, but then you just brought it up right now?
I did bring it up for you know. Guys, we'll talk about it later.
It's like the anti-YouTube strategy. Like, all other YouTubers are like, we've got something that's coming up at the very end of the episode, guys, so make sure you stay tuned. Dawko's like, I got something that's coming up at the very end of the episode, and I'm going to tell you what it is right now.
We'll go more in depth to it then later on.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, awesome.
Teaser upcoming attractions, yeah.
But yeah, a quick recap on how to get it. So we've just said it's in FNAF 6. It's in the pizza simulator part. You get the Midnight Motorist arcade machine. And it starts off with the banging music at the start. You're in a pink car and you're speeding through a bunch of other purple cars. But there's like a little glitch at the side of the road, right? Later on in the game. And if you go in there, you get this huge mini game. You drive around the town in the pouring rain at night, which is a very big detail. As Matt, you know, in your theory videos, we already know. We think it's the same night as Charlie's murder, which we will talk about in a minute. I keep spoiling things, guys. I'm sorry. This is what I'm like. You know, you drive down, you visit Junior's, and the green guy. Green guy. I like how we just say green guy, purple guy, mustard guy.
I like that everyone's a guy. There's purple guy and green guy, but then it's mustard man. Like, very, very important distinction there. very lore important.
Mustard
Don't confuse
Man.
your mustard man with your mustard guy or your yellow guy or your Cheeto man.
Exactly.
Very different. All important individual characters.
Yeah. So we take a visit to Junior's. Again, that's another big subject that we'll talk about in a minute. I'm just doing a quick recap. You can say hello to the dirt pile. You go to the house.
Say hello to the dirt pile. Hey, dirt pile. How you doing, man? One of the few things in this franchise that hasn't been anthropomorphized or turned into a character in FNAF world. A little dirt pile with googly eyes.
Yeah, exactly. Then we leave the car, and we see that we are this mysterious mustard man. We go into the house. There's somebody just chilling, watching TV, and says, you know, like, come on, just don't go too harsh on him or whatever. He's had a rough night or something. We knock on the door, no answer. We knock again, no answer. And then the mustard guy gets a bit aggressive. And then we take a tour outside and we can see he's left to that place again. He'll be sorry when he gets back. So again, we'll talk about that in a minute, but just a quick little recap before we get started. So yeah, the first question I want to talk about, Matt, is Mustard Man. What do you think? Who is Mustard Man?
All right, yeah, let's go into Mustard Man. So first off, before we get to Mustard Man, I do want to call out the fact that I appreciate you mentioning the music, because the music to Midnight Motorist is so good. Like, Five Nights at Freddy's is not a franchise with a whole lot of like music that plays, but the music that does play throughout this franchise is so good, and I think it's easy to sleep on the music in this franchise. Midnight Motorist is a banger.
It is,
for a while, I was writing all my scripts to Midnight Motorist just playing on loop in the background. No joke. Like, I would just like rock out to it, and I would just like write my scripts for like 5, 6, 7 hours at a time. The way I struggle with like new songs, and I struggle with songs with lyrics, and so I need stuff with like a good beat that gets me into a right mindset, but is like repetitive and familiar enough that it doesn't distract me from what I'm doing. And so yeah, I'll just play the same song on loop for like 8-hour blocks of time. And so Midnight Motorist is burned into my memory at this point, and I think there was a good chunk of like 20 episodes that were written with that one as like the backing track for a while.
It's so good. And the newer music as well, with Security Breach and stuff, and Ruin, like such bangers, man. FNAF World 2, FNAF World has got some good bangers as well. But yeah,
it really does.
You are right though, some of the songs are so underrated.
Right.
Yeah.
So Cheeto Man.
Yeah,
Cheeto Man, the mustard guy.
Yeah. Who do you think he is? Like,
I mean, I think at this point we can all be relatively assured that it's William Afton, right? I think that feels like the community, in a world where we disagree about so many things in the FNAF community, I think we as a unit have collectively decided like, hey, this was confusing when it first came out, and rightfully so, but time has kind of gone on to show that this is very definitively William Afton. You know, the reason he's yellow, great question. You know, maybe this is before he became the purple guy, or, you know, purple and yellow are the two colors that tend to contrast themselves in a lot of cases in this franchise. Maybe it was just a creative decision because a lot of the action in this minigame is happening at night, and it's a dark color palette. And so Scott chose something yellow that still associates it with the purple guy, but is differentiated so that way it's not like a dark purple blob on like a dark blue-gray background for this night, you know? But I think based on everything around, you know, the fact that he's driving the purple car, the fact that he's this angry, aggressive person, the fact that it connects with the Charlie Death minigame in the Security Puppet minigames. All of that seems to indicate, like, hey, this is William Afton. Sure, the color palette doesn't match, but, you know, all the other clues are pointing in this direction. And as we've seen since, the way that this story tells its clues and the way that it kind of communicates its lore has really evolved over time. And in retrospect, you're like, oh, I guess that makes sense. But in the moment when this is like, this is the first time that we're seeing William Afton in yellow, that's a weird call out. But, you know, you figure it out with time.
Yeah, I just thought of something as well. You know, why did Scott make him mustardy or golden? I thought it could be before he's got corrupted. Like, because, you know, we've always seen, like, the shadow animatronics, like Shadow Freddy. Like, it's gold, but then purple. So it could be like the opposites, and it could be like the origins of William Afton, because we know it should be like the start of his first murder.
Well, and I think that's the question, right? And as with a lot of things in this franchise, there's a couple of key questions that people are still on the fence about, and that once you decide your answer to it, all the rest of the dominoes fall. And so so many other pieces fit into place. So, for instance here, if Charlie is in fact William Afton's first murder, and this is that night, because the minigame's later that night, right? And this is the night of Charlie's murder, then yeah, him being yellow makes a lot of sense, because he has not descended or evolved into the purple guy yet, right? Like, this is his first murder, he's not a serial killer, and so this is the first of what will be a line of murders, and so he goes from yellow, innocent, whatever, to evil, purple, sinister color that he ends up being for the rest of the franchise, right? So if Charlie is in fact the first murder, that works out really well. But as we've seen with, some of the more recent entries with like Help Wanted 2 and the gravestones and the puppets, right? Where Charlie and the puppet is actually the last of the ones revealed to kind of like solve the code at the end of Help Wanted 2, and you unlock the Bonnie bully mask at the end of that one. Is that implying that Charlie the puppet is the last of the murder victims? In which case that theory doesn't hold as much water, right? That the yellow to purple thing. And so it's one of those things where, depending on other answers to the franchise, certain things do or don't make sense, right? Like there, you can, and that's the endless frustration and beauty of this franchise, is that there are so many clues that work that way, where you can line up the dominoes, and they all make sense, and they make a logical progression. It's like, oh, baby was the first murdered, which is why that's what the crying child saw, and so that's why he sees a bunch of stomach mouths, and that's why he's afraid of the animatronics, and that's why there's only 2 people in the FNAF 4 house. That's why he keeps breaking out to visit a gravesite, blah, 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 and those dominoes all line up. But the first domino was Elizabeth Afton scooped by baby first, right? That's a big if, right? That's a big question mark. The whole Charlie thing then, where does Charlie fit in, and is it before the bite victim? Is it before Elizabeth? The first murders of this franchise really function as these first dominoes, that there's a lot of lore bits that we as a community have put together that make narrative sense in any of those directions. It's just you're still waiting to figure out what that first domino is to fall to tell us what track we're on. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Yeah, I don't know how to come back from that. That was just amazing. Whether Charlie's the first victim or not, we still think it's the same night, right? Especially at the start of Midnight Motorist, he's speeding through the highway to get back home. So yeah, I do think there's a connection there. Mustard Man being William Afton. Can you think of anybody else at the top of your head who it could possibly be if it's not William? I had an idea where it could just be a random parent, and it's like a missing kid incident where their kid goes missing. But again, there's something specific in where the window's broke where I don't think it is that. With the animatronic footprints, right? Like I'm pretty sure they're not at the window. They're just in the bushes.
The footprints are always the thing that's frustrated me about this one, right? And that's actually one of my biggest problems with the William Afton being purple guy, or not purple guy, a mustard man, is the fact that, so if he is the mustard man, if he is Cheeto guy or whatever, what are those animatronic footprints then? Like well, I remember when that minigame first came out, and even though like your gut says, oh, this has got to be William Afton, color's weird, but also like, who then is the animatronic standing outside of the window? Like you see that almost as like an animatronic luring a kid, or trying to like draw a kid out of their house, so much so that the kid actively breaks out of their window, right? And I think that's the other side here, is the kid's locked in their room, and we see the glass outside of the house, right? Which means that they broke the window from the inside going out, and they're going out to pursue or kind of hang out with this animatronic. It's a very weird detail, and all the explanations in the world never really come up with a satisfying, like for all the dominoes that we line up, I've never really seen a satisfying answer to why are there animatronic footprints out there in the rain outside that window. You know, the best explanation, right, has always been, oh, is this, you know, one of the murder victims, one of the missing children, Golden Freddy, what have you. It's one of them appearing as a spirit or like a physicalized form, and beckoning to, you know, the kid who's inside the room to come out and join them. And I think that that's probably the solution there, right? We see in the Fazbear Fright stories. One of the Fazbear Fright stories, it's I forget the official name of it, but it's like Welcome Home or something like that, where it's the story of Chica coming to visit a little girl in her home at night and basically trying to bring this girl into the afterlife, or kind of like bring this girl into, you know, the next life, and they kind of like pass through a barrier and ascend to, you know, the next plane of existence or whatever. But Chica has a physical form in that story and actively kind of like pursues this girl at her house, comes at her at night, and draws her away from the house. And that one always felt like a very strong parallel to me of the Midnight Motorist events that we're seeing. So that's what I think that story was going for, and I think that's what it was trying to communicate, was the spirits can leave the pizzeria, and the animatronics that they're possessing are physical. They have a physical weight and presence in the world, which would leave footprints or damage or things like that. We also saw that in the FNAF movie, right? Where in the FNAF movie, the animatronics, we think of them as these entities that are stuck to the locations, the pizzerias, things like that. But as we see, you know, Golden Freddy is able to take a cab ride with Koryak Kenshin and is able to, you know, cause our dear old aunt to die awkwardly off camera for a little bit, you know. So we see that the animatronics are more portable and more maneuverable than I think the games kind of give you the impression.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think right, okay, because we're on this subject anyway, I do think Mustard Man's William Afton. I think that animatronic could be Golden Freddy out of everybody, in my opinion. Who do you think the kid is? Do you think it was the crying child who left the house, or Michael?
To me, it feels like it's the crying child.
Mm-hmm.
I think it kind of has to be.
Yeah.
In a lot of cases, right? Because you have the gray coloring of the character who is sitting on the couch in front of the TV, you know, which was associated with the gray coloring of Mike Afton during FNAF 4. So you have that continuity of storytelling there. You also have just the idea of like Mike is the character who we have seen repeatedly in the series, specifically in Sister Location, going home, sitting on the couch, watching TV, right? So thinking about the games as they're released, FNAF 4 sets up Mike as the gray kid, or the person who speaks in gray. FNAF 5 sets up Mike as the guy who watches TV and is still in, you know, is watching TV. And then FNAF 6 then it's gray, it's in front of the TV, it's Mike, right? Which then by process of elimination means that who's breaking out of it? It has to be the crying child. It also gets into some of the weird stuff around like didophobia in the books, which is the story about how FNAF 4 might have been a hallucination test done by nightmare gas, right? Which is an extreme interpretation of stuff. But again, the idea there is a person is trapped in a building and is working to break out of this, right? Like it's got that subtext of someone is trapped, experiencing nightmares, and has to break out. And so for me, it kind of has to be crying child by process of elimination. The question, though, then becomes, if this is the night of Charlie's death, right? Again, the question, is Charlie the first to die? Because someone's in that Golden Freddy suit.
Yeah.
You know, if it is a spirit entity and it is able to go out to this kid's house outside of his window and be like, hey, follow me, come with me, whatever, something has to be in there, right? Golden Freddy's not doing it on his own. Someone presumably would have had to have died before the events of later that night, before Charlie's death.
In Ultimate Custom Night, it's always the one you should not have killed, right? And it's Golden Freddy at the end of Ultimate Custom Night. So do you think Scott's trying to shift things where...
It's a great question. I mean, it could be. absolutely. I mean,
it's just so weird to me.
It is. It's very weird, and it's a weird thing to wrap your mind around too. Because again, if you're going off of Help Wanted 2 and that order of gravestones, Chica's the first. She's seen everything, and that's the first gravestone that that you use in that game. And then it's the core 4 animatronics. Then it's Golden Freddy, and then it's the puppet. Right. So by that order of events, Golden Freddy happens before the puppet, which would line up with a Golden Freddy spirit appearing, able to appear, the night that Charlie is dead, right? So Golden Freddy would already be dead and possessed and whatever, and there's Charlie's dead body behind, the pizzeria later that night, whatever. Is it being adjusted? It's a tough call, right? I think one thing that we know for sure is that it seems like all the media has told us that Chica's the first. Like, the first of the 5, right? You have your groups of murders, right? And in your group of murders, you have the missing kids incident, which is 5 kids, right? And we know that that's the core 4 plus Golden Freddy, specifically Cassidy, right? And within that grouping of 5, all the clues have always told us it's always Chica first.
Yeah.
Which, by its nature then implies that Golden Freddy's last. And going back to Help Wanted 2, the order of the gravestones, same thing, right? We see Chica first, Golden Freddy's last, then the puppet. So, for as frustrating to the lore as that bit makes it, it does seem like more and more clues are kind of like pushing, like the later into the story that we've gotten, the more and more clues have been pushing like, hey, no, the missing children incident was like the first major series of murders here. Mm-hmm. Golden Freddy was the tail end of those because, if you study serial killers and things like that, the first murder tends to be weird because they're finding themselves, maybe it's a crime of passion, maybe it's an accident, they haven't figured out what their routine is yet. And then also on serial killer lore, like later murders tend to get weird too because they get overconfident, right? I haven't been caught yet. I can't be stopped. They have this god complex. And so they start to get sloppy, they start to get overly aggressive, and those are ultimately the things that end up getting them caught, right? That's why serial killers tend to get caught. And so Golden Freddy either has to be the first or the last. And similarly with Charlie. Charlie has to be either one of the first or one of the last.
Whoever this animatronic is, right, luring the crying child out to that place again, why? Why?
Yeah, great question. I mean, one thing that I think is reasonable to assume is, I think there's two possibilities, right? One is that it's a small town and it's a group of friends, right? And so, as we've seen in the FNAF 4 minigames, everyone talks. The lore of Freddy's just persists in this town, right? Like, I hear at night they come to life, or the plush trap bites you. Like, it is a small town where all the kids know each other. And so if all of a sudden, like, a bunch of kids go missing, presumably the crying child is familiar with them, has seen these kids around the pizzeria, might have, played with them in the past. Into the Pit shows that there's like a very tight-knit community of people who are meeting at the pizzeria on a regular basis. And if you're the son of one of the owners, you are there on a regular basis. Yeah. So you might have known these kids, right? Mm-hmm. So there's option one of like, hey, it's me, Golden Freddy, haha, it's me, come hang out, whatever. There's just that element. And the boy misses his friend, and so he wants to go out. Option two, though, and I think this is actually maybe the more likely solution, is it possible that Golden Freddy is acting aggressively? If it is Golden Freddy out there, right? Is it acting aggressively or vengefully, right? We see in the movie that Golden Freddy is truly the vengeful spirit, right? He's the leader of the crew, and he is doing things that seem innocent, but actually has malicious intent, right? He is trying to strike back against his killer in ways that will hurt him in some way. And he seems pretty, pretty malicious. Like, he doesn't care that he's attacking a kid, right? In the movie, we see Abby being a target of Golden Freddy in a lot of cases. It's Golden Freddy being like, yeah, just put her in the animatronics so she can join us. Like, get her spring-locked by Baby so she can join us, right? It's not like, oh, hey, we're all fun kids here. It's like, oh, there's actual, like, evil intent for this spirit to like kill another kid and bring them over to the
Yeah.
fold, right? And so to me, one possibility here is maybe it is Golden Freddy trying to lure Afton's family out, or a member of Afton's family out that Afton cares about, to lash back at this person who killed him and actually get revenge in whatever capacity he can.
I like both of those points. The thing is with the second option is it's interesting how Afton doesn't really care that much that he's gone. He says, "Oh, he'll be sorry when he gets back," like knowing that he's going to return. So I feel like if Golden Freddy had malicious intents, Crying Child would have got killed at that point, right? Or something bad would have happened. I do like the first one though, about them being friends originally. There was a bond with them. I remember in FNAF 4, the Crying Child has a real close bond with his plushies, excluding Foxy because Michael's ruined that. But he has a really close bond with them, that they're his friends. That could be a metaphor that he's friends with the spirits as well, or something like that.
No, that's a really good call out, and I think, yeah, I was talking through it in real time. I'm like, oh, that's an interesting twist that you could pursue. But no, I think you're actually right. It is that friendship mentality, which again, going back to the movie, is an indicator. Like, I think the movie showed interactions with the animatronics that we hadn't really seen yet. Like the animatronics actually being fun and friendly and playful, right? And they're being fun and friendly and playful with Abby as a fellow kid. And so, yeah, to your point, that could very well be it, right? Is hey, we just want to hang out with our friend. We want to hang out as kids again. And so we don't want to hurt this kid. And Crying Child enjoys that, right? It's fun for them. They want to go back there, just like Abby wants to go back to the pizzeria to hang out with her buddies, the animatronics, until things take a turn for the worse.
Yeah. And there's someone specific, like, we are still your... Well, we don't know who it is, but he says, "We are still your friends. Do you believe that?" So I feel like there definitely was a history. So do you think that the Crying Child just went to the location and just played with them like how Abby did, building forts and stuff? Like, it's just weird. Like, at this point, it seems like the Crying Child is not scared of going to the location, right? He seems comfortable breaking out of the house and going to visit the pizzeria. Then in FNAF 4, he's always crying all the time and he's terrified of the location now and he doesn't like going there. So in between those two events, something has happened. I know you've said that he might have witnessed Elizabeth's death, but, you know, he could have gone to that location and he could have seen something there. Maybe he saw the bodies in the suits or something, or his dad doing something maliciously. Like, it could be anything, right?
Yeah, so again, the dominoes line up in one of three different routes, right? Route number one is exactly what I said, which is, did he see his... Because I think there's also been this growing understanding that Sister Location, Fredbear's Family Diner, and Freddy Fazbear's Pizza were much closer and if not overlapping each other in existence than we ever thought, right? Again, when we were presented the games in a sequential order, it felt like, oh, one pizzeria opens, another one closes. One opens and another one closes. You know, there's references to a sister location, something being shut down, the closure of Freddy Fazbear's, whatever. But the overlap of the restaurants opens up a lot more complexity to the timeline and a lot more possibility to the timeline. So I think now more than ever, the possibility of Elizabeth being, you know, scooped early or being grabbed by baby early, that's option number one. And the kid saw that and he's like, oh no, that was really scary. And I'm scared of that. And I'm scared away. Option two is exactly to your point. He sees, like we've been kind of talking about here, the fact that there is a Golden Freddy or some animatronic outside of that window who is not his dad in a suit implies that there are spirits already possessed. Murders have already happened by the time that this night has occurred. And so there is the very real possibility that he saw a murder happen, you know, or that he sees a murder happen, which is the thing that gets him scared. And that's why he's terrified when we see him again in FNAF 4. And then option three was what we see in the books, right? Which is William Afton being upset that his kid has an affinity with these animatronics and is bonding with them, playing with them, lingering around them too closely, and William knows what he's done with them, that he does something and arranges some sort of weird experiment, hallucination, designs spooky animatronics or whatever to scare his son away from his love of them, right? He's like, hey, you cannot love these things, and you're going to be sorry that you love these things so much, so I'm going to design something for you that scares you. And I normally I wouldn't put too much emphasis on that because that seems crazy and ridiculous. But welcome to FNAF, 1. And 2, it's a theme that we see repeated a lot through the short stories in Tales from the Pizzaplex and Fazbear Frights. We repeatedly have these stories, I think there's 3 or 4 of them, where there is a blank animatronic or a blank room, and gas or sound discs or something is affecting your perception of the world around you, and something that is blank and flat and neutral suddenly becomes terrifying and scary and nightmarish. Didophobia is the one that is the most one-for-one with what we see in FNAF 4, where it is literally, I'm in the FNAF 4 house, here are the nightmare animatronics, and I turned off the gas and now I see everything in reality. But even before that story came out, there was 2 or 3 other stories that kind of had that repeated theme over and over again with kind of like lightly FNAF 4 coded. So normally I'd be like, oh yeah, one of those 2 more reasonable, realistic explanations here would make sense, option 1 or option 2. But it seems like the lore that the books are really telling you, or kind of like the clues that they're unlocking or kind of leaving a trail for, seem to be pushing towards that other option where it's like, hey, no, William designed these things to scare his kid away from those animatronics because he didn't like them hanging out.
Yeah, with the psychic friend Fredbear as well, like William always watching what the crying child's doing. Was he doing that because he just wanted to protect the crying child from getting hurt or having an accident like Elizabeth? Or was it malicious? He's watching everything he's doing to make sure he's not interacting with the spirits, not knowing anymore. He doesn't want his son knowing what he's done, basically.
Right? Yeah, it's the poor crying child's living in like a surveillance state.
Yeah.
Very strange.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that was deep. That was a very, very deep talk about the crying child. That was crazy. And that was really good.
That is this franchise, right? Like, I think for as much frustration as the lore provides, the fun, it's like a Rubik's Cube, right? Where you have all the colors and dots and they all have their individual pieces. And the way that you arrange them, you can solve it in a lot of different ways, and all of them are valid. But then there's always like that one bit of the Rubik's Cube that doesn't quite fit, or like that one square that you didn't quite get right, and you're like, oh, well, I gotta mess everything up to make that one fit, and then that cube fits, and then everything else is off, right? There's always that one dangling piece that's like, yeah, that keeps you going. That one extra puzzle piece that just doesn't fit in, and you don't get a satisfying image over here, but you still have a lingering thread over here, and so yeah, you're like, well, let me start again from the beginning.
Yeah. Quickly as well, what do you think Junior's is? Do you think Junior's is a bar, a pizzeria location, or what do you think?
Try as I might to make it into a pizzeria location, which was, I think, one of my early timeline episodes where I tried to bend over backwards and make that building lore importance and be like, oh yeah, this is clearly the FNAF 2 location. It's not. I don't think there's really any evidence to suggest that it is. It really does feel like a bar. It really does feel like William had a bad day at work and, or a bad day, with his son getting bit or whatever, and drowns his sorrows, goes back to the pizzeria, takes out his aggression on Charlie, and then we see kind of the results of the day, right? So to me, Junior's the best scenario here, and the one that makes the most sense, is that it's a bar. Try as I might, it doesn't seem to be anything more than that, and I'm okay with that, right? It feels weird. It feels weird that such a prominent, very specifically named building is just like, oh, random bar, insert random bar. But as far as I can tell, that's what it's meant to be.
Yeah, I think so too. Like previously, he's been there drunk and he's caused an issue and he's been banned from the bar, right? And that's why the green guy says, come on, you're not supposed to be here. So, yeah, that's what I think as well. Dirt pile. What do you think the dirt pile is in the middle of the woods? Why?
Right? It is in the middle of the woods, right? Which implies that it is meant to be hidden, right? This is not a dirt pile that is a gravestone. This is something that's, I did something wrong and I need to hide the evidence for it, or I need to kind of bury it away from plain sight. And so one of the things that I've suspected is, to what we were talking about before, is that Cassidy's grave. Is that whatever spirit is possessing Golden Freddy in this moment, is that what it is? That would explain the more ghostly appearance of Golden Freddy, because all the other kids die in their suits, right? All of the other ones are kind of stuffed in there, so they have control of the animatronics. There's more of that one-to-one. But Golden Freddy appears. He doesn't move, and we've attributed that to spring locks in the past. We've attributed that to a lot of different things. But what it seems to indicate is like, hey, did the kid actually die in the suit, or is he just kind of taking the form of the Golden Freddy animatronic? And the body was buried elsewhere. Like, it wasn't hidden because this is a suit that humans are going to wear. Golden Freddy, people are going to put it on or whatever. So you can't keep a dead kid in there, because at some point someone will find it and try to put it on and be like, oh my gosh, I found a dead kid. So to me, it feels like that's meant to be Golden Freddy's grave, or Cassidy's grave, I guess at this point, which then also reinforces the idea of why they're so angry, why they're so vengeful.
Yeah, no, I think that's great, and I think not many people talk about that Golden Freddy can just appear and fade away like literally a ghost, instead of walking around like an animatronic. That is really important, and I agree. Maybe William Afton did shove Cassidy into the suit and then changed his mind or something, or he could have completely buried the suit with Cassidy still inside, or something like that. But I like that.
Well, no, I hadn't really considered that, burying Cassidy with the suit. That's cool. That's really cool, because that explains, or evidence to support that one, would be the second novel, right? Which I think everyone always thought was strange. In the second novel, Twisted Ones, you get the twisted animatronics, which are the rough novel parallel for the nightmares, basically. They're the closest proximity, but they're also like the most furthest away from it. Like, all the other books are like, oh, there's very clear one-to-one parallels with what we see in the games. Then you have book 2, the Twisted Ones, and you're like, if you squint at it, I kind of get it. But it's not as one-for-one as the other things. And the thing about the Twisted Ones is that they are buried, and that they pop out of the ground to attack, right? Like to vor whoever their victim is, right? We get these repeated scenes of like Freddy coming out of the grave and attacking. And so, to your point, maybe that's what that is, right? Is that idea of Cassidy being buried in the suit, and they are like similar to a zombie, like rising up out of the ground to go to the crying child's house and be like, hey, come hang out with me. So like I think that's actually a really cool thing that I'd never thought of before. So I think that's an awesome observation.
Yeah. I'm just trying to think in any of the actual games, excluding Into the Pit and stuff, like the actual core FNAF games. I don't feel like we ever actually see Golden Freddy as it's, there as I'm trying to word this right, not as a spirit, like the solid costume, but I don't think we ever see that ever.
No,
right?
that's actually a really good call out. In FNAF 1, he appears and disappears ghostly style. FNAF 2, same thing. FNAF 3, FNAF 3, no. Just in the mini games, we see him on stage 01, but that's him in Golden Bonnie on stage, so that's just him in performance mode. And FNAF 4 is Fredbear. So yeah, you're absolutely right. We don't ever see a physical, that's a good one there, Dawko. We never see a physical version of Golden Freddy, to my knowledge. Again, this is talking through in real time, 10 years of history, but like a physical version of Golden Freddy in the environment. It's always the spirit version of Golden Freddy.
Yeah,
you never see the physical animatronic.
Never physical. And we see Golden Bonnie as Springtrap, So
we see it all the time.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, where is that suit? Where is it?
It's buried in the ground with cat. That's pretty good, man. I like it. That's good. Dawko, you solved FNAF.
Oh
you
my
solved
God.
Golden Freddy.
Oh my God.
You're the latest in the line of like 6 videos that I've watched this week about people who have solved Golden Freddy. Again, there's so many people who are solving Golden Freddy right now. It's crazy.
Yeah. Oh my God. Well, you never know. Maybe in the FNAF movie or something, we'll see that happen, like buried underground. I don't know. Maybe we'll actually see the physical form of him, or in a future game.
I know when he was teasing the movie, right? Scott was pretty clear that one of the ideas that he was tossing around for one of the scripts was the story of Cassidy. And I believe the explanation he gave in the subreddit post was that it was good for the lore heads, like good for the hardcore fan base, but it was great for them, but too much for everyone else, too confusing for everyone else, which is why he scrapped it. But we know that there's a script out there somewhere, or at least the idea of a script out there somewhere floating around telling the story of Cassidy, so that might be it.
I did spoil it at the start. 5 laps at Freddy's, right? When that trailer dropped, everybody went crazy. We saw Midnight Motorist. I was like, what the heck? What's going on here? Yeah. So, do you think there's going to be anything lore related to that at any point in 5 laps at Freddy's? Do you think something's going to be hinted at with Midnight Motorist, if there's a possibility of that happening, or?
I think you have to. I think if they are legitimately pursuing 5 laps at Freddy's, and if that is going to be a full official release in the series, it is so primed for giving some clarity on the whole Midnight Motorist mystery. You have to. And I think they recognize that, as evidenced by the fact that there are Easter eggs and there's the like joke about no lore here and this and that. Like, I think they know that the expectation of the community is like, hey, but really, here's the game about cars and here's the mini game about cars. Tell us something here, guys. So I would expect that to be a yes, you know. And as we've seen with the interview that you just did with Scott, I think we're entering into an era where Scott is being more and more open and more willing to explain some of the decisions of the creative. Maybe not give all the answers away, but at least give more clarity or give more hints to what the true intentions were behind things, or what some of those answers were to some of those older games, right? Because now us as a Theorist community are into the weeds for things like Ruin and Help Wanted 2 and Secrets of the Mimic and stuff, right? Like the new generation of FNAF theorizing with the Mimic and AI being kind of like the big themes. And so, Robot Kids. I gotta shove it in anywhere I can. And so I think that early era, that kind of like initial phase of FNAFs 1 through 6, he's able to kind of like be more explicit and open about, and the books have started to do that. And I think games like Midnight Motorist also allow opportunities to kind of explain away some of those things and give some semblance of closure around some of these mysteries that have had us talking for the better part of 7 years at this point.
Yeah. And one specific thing as well, I did spoil as well earlier, is the car, the Midnight Motor car. Something very specific on that car is the Spring Bonnie antenna at the back. Why?
Well, because it's William Afton's car, man.
There you go. Thank you, guys. It's solved. We did it.
Yeah, we solved it. We solved Midnight Motorist, guys. We did it after all these years.
Yeah, guys. Scott approves everything with stuff like this. Unless it's updated later on where it's removed. There's a Spring Bonnie antenna on the car, the Midnight Motorist car. Yeah. Like
I said, that move feels, and to be fair, I don't think we needed that, right? I think that when you asked at the beginning, like, who's Orange Guy, I think I'm like, oh, we all collectively have decided that that's William Afton, and I think that is just yet another piece of evidence to be like, yep, you guys were right, Yeah. So that one didn't seem like as much of a reveal as it was like I see you and you guys are right, and here's just the little extra added bit of evidence to kind of like confirm that you guys are right.
Yeah, like hitting the nail on the coffin, like, yeah, you guys are right.
Right.
Yeah.
We can put that one to bed. Cheeto Guy is Purple Guy is William Afton.
Yeah,
unless it's actually Michael Afton and he's already been scooped. No, not opening that can of worms. Nope.
No, we're done. You gotta go. We're done. So, the final question, Matt. Do you think this has been solved? Do you think that you're satisfied with it? Or do you think, you know, I feel like we've got Mustard Man done, but I still feel like, I feel like we've said Juniors is a bar. You confident with that?
Yep, absolutely.
I still think the dirt pile's a little bit iffy. I do like the Golden Freddy idea though, and the broken window.
I think Golden Freddy also has 3 toes. I believe Golden Freddy has 3 toes as well, which lines up with the amount of toes that I believe the footprint has. The shape of it doesn't match, but I believe it's 3 toes to 3 toes. It's been a long time since I've brushed up on my toe counting. I'm retired now, so I've purged a lot of that information from my brain.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. I feel really good about a lot of those answers. I think it makes sense that it's Golden Freddy. I think it makes sense that it's William Afton. I think it's Mike and Crying Child. I think the aftermath. I think it's the things on either side of it, right? What happened before? You know, was Charlie the first victim? Was Charlie the last victim? When, you know, and then conversely, like the Golden Freddy bite, and like what you called out about, like, why is Crying Child cry if he likes the animatronics? Why is he crying in FNAF 4? Those are the mysteries now that exist. But as far as Midnight Motorist itself, feels like we have a pretty solid set of explanations.
Yeah, I agree. And the aftermath with 5 laps at Freddy's with the Spring Bonnie on the car. Yeah, but we'll see if there's anything else that's going to be revealed for that. I really hope we do get something. I said in my video, it would be so cool because it is a single player game, right? There's not going to be multiplayer in this. If we actually do get to glitch out of that road again and actually go and do that mini game again, you know, explore the map and stuff and see
from a different perspective.
Yeah,
it'd be great.
And see the dirt pile and go to the house and more nails on the coffin, like more explanation about what those footprints were and what the dirt pile is. Maybe we see like a golden ear sticking out of the dirt pile or something. You know what I mean? Just to get some more confirmation.
I feel like it'd be a huge missed opportunity if they didn't do that.
Yeah, exactly. I really hope it's a game where it's like FNAF World, where there's glitches and stuff and something's not right with the game. I do really hope we get something like that rather than just a kart game. Yeah, do you think we solved it, or do you still think it's unsolved? I've got to ask it at the end.
We solved it, Dawko. We solved Midnight Motorist.
Okay, there we go then, guys. Blame MATPAT. It's solved.
Blame Matt. Get out of here. Blame. I'm retired. You're not.
Yeah.
Sure, go ahead. Blame me. Whatever.
No.
I'm retired. What are you gonna do to me? I'm gone.
We'll just say it's unsolved, but like I feel like we did really good there.
Solved Midnight Motorist. Parentheses mostly.
Yeah, mostly solved. Let's say that. So nobody gets the pitchforks out and be like, well, actually, the dirt pile is the, you know. But yeah, Matt, thank you so much. I really do appreciate it. Like, you know, being in this video means so much to me, and it's always a pleasure just talking about FNAF with you. It's always so nice.
Anytime, Dawko. It's always a pleasure. And hey, as I'm an old-time retiree, I got all the time in the world. So thanks for getting me out of my retirement home, getting me off the old the rocker on the porch, to talk about the good old days of FNAF. Back in my day, Golden Freddy was only possessed by 1 spirit. Now it's possessed by 2.
Oh no, we're not going into that. The 2-spirit theory. No.
Next time.
Next time.
Thanks, Dawko.
Thank you so much, Matt. See you later, guys. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.